OpenAI, though, feeling incredibly confident with themselves, and they are going to dive in past the tower. They'll look for the ultimate here from the gyro. BKB is there from Anas. He'll try and turn, but Seb, he's already fallen. Sven will make sure that No-Tail's pushed all the way back. Official will come out to hold them down, but OpenAI, they've got 2 more kills. Seb and Jarek's fall, a third as well, as they snipe down No-Tail right up to the high ground. The depth of it has the Yule Scepter controlling Anna. Anna's sort of left on his own here to try and hold back, but there's the stun from Sven. Anna's going to fall as well. As OpenAI, they're into the base. It's 19 minutes in. They're taking the tier 3 tower. They're almost certainly going to look for more. As OG, they have 4 dead at the moment. Only a Ricky. And Ricky, not the best hero, holding back a 5-man push on his own.
When players are asked about artificial intelligence in video games, most of them would likely think of AI agents made to win against any players. Why not when all they saw is OpenAI agent beat the World Championship in Dota 2, or Alpha Star defeated 2 best players in StarCraft 2. However, AI in video games has many usages and is mostly used to enhance the player's experience and enjoyment. At least this is from a developer perspective. In contrast, researchers want to build an AI agent that is capable of playing multiple games on a superhuman level. So I need to raise a question here. Is AI's ultimate goal in video games to build a super AI player? Or will players need such a development to play against? This is Mo, and in this video I'm answering the question, why AI in video games? And to answer this question, we need to look at how AI has been implemented in video games, starting with non-player character or NPC. Historically, the focus for AI in video games is to enhance the behavior of NPC to satisfy the enjoyment level within the players. Because if the player feels that the NPC doesn't act as expected, they simply leave the game and leave dozens of negative comments in any game form. To achieve a good level of believability for any NPC, a few systems have been used for quite a long time. Finite state machine, and goal-oriented action planning and behavior tree, and more. For the sake of this video, I will explain only those 3 systems briefly, and if you are interested to know more about these systems or the systems used in video games, I recommend visiting AI in Video Game channel. Finite State Machine (FCM) and Goal-Oriented Action Planning (GOP) are a bit similar, though GOP is more flexible and can achieve a certain behavior with a more sufficient approach. So, a finite state machine, or FCM for short, is a model of computation based on a hypothetical machine made of 1 or more states. Only single state can be activated simultaneously, so the machine must transition from one state to another to perform different actions. The NPC in FCM moves from one state to another in a sequence and cannot execute 2 states at once. So if the player is near to an NPC enemy, the state of an NPC enemy would move from wonder to the attack state instead of being in wonder and attack state simultaneously. This is a simple graph of FCM. However, the structure could be more complicated and hard to follow during the protection phase because each state is connected to a certain behavior. GOP has a similar structure. However, in GOP, the NPC would more likely choose how to execute their goals intuitively. So for example, let's say we ask 2 players to bake an apple in Zelda: The Breath of the Wild. One player will just grab a flaming torch and bake the apple while it's on the tree. The other player will achieve the goal by throwing the apple near to the fire camp to bake the apple. However, throwing the apple on the fire will make the apple burn and then disappear. So, if we introduce these 2 behaviors to an NPC in the GOP system, the NPC would likely choose the more intuitive approach and execute it. Of course, depend on what tools the NPC has and the surrounding situation. What makes GOP much better than FCM is the degree of complexity FCM could have, making the code less sufficient and hard to keep up with. In addition, states in GOP are not connected, which is perfect for replacing a complicated FCM structure. Another system used to enhance NPC's behavior is the behavior tree, and it is the most commonly used system in the modern video game industry because it can live up to the developer needs, especially when it comes to applying enormous complicated tasks. The term tree comes from the system structure's appearance, where it starts from a root and ends with the number of leaves. The highest node is called parents, while any node connected to the parents node are called children. The nodes in the system are typically found to be one of four types. First, the root, which is the node that does not have any parent and only has children. Second, the leaf, which is opposite to the root, does not have any children but only one parent. Third, the composite nodes, which controls the flow of how we move through the tree, and there are two main types. A selector, where it decides which child to execute based on one logic in the game. A sequence node, which allows the NPC to execute more than one child in a sequence one after the other. Lastly, the decorator nodes. These take existing logic child node and manipulate them. Additionally, the behavior tree has a component called Blackbird. It is used to store data that the tree uses as a part of the behavior of multiple nodes, such as target location, nearest item of interest, and the player's state if they are under fire or not. This focus on NPC systematically is due to many reasons. One is the degree of believability. Although the game is a fantasy world, players do not like to play a game where NPC act peculiarly or breaks a law of physics. Of course, in the game. Superheroes are out of this discourse. Another reason is keeping the player engaged with the game. For example, if a player has a quest to kill a raid boss, the player will expect to go to a raid and fight a boss, not to find the boss doing stupid things such as being in a raid state and not fighting back. The disappointing behavior from the players when Cyberpunk 2077 was released last December came from a peculiar NPC behavior. Many were complaining that the game is broken and need a massive patch to fix it. On the other hand, the hype around Red Dead Redemption 2 is due to the great interaction between the players and the NPCs. Thus, NPC's behavior is one of the pillars for making a successful game. The focus of AI in video games has shifted, and the academic field is now trying to create a super intelligent player. An agent capable of playing any games, not only one games, as you might have seen recently with AlphaStar or OpenAI in Dota 2. General video games AI is a framework and a competition where an AI agent is designed to play multiple games. Once the agent is ready to be tested, the agent will be introduced to a different number of games that the agent did not play or was not trained to play. Those games are arcade games, but there is no doubt that the type of games in this general video game AI competition will be more complex and challenging for AI agents to overcome. General video game AI is an academic approach. To my knowledge, and from a player perspective who's encountered so many video games, the developers may not apply AI agent into their games. Rather, they create an AI system that enhances the player's experience and enjoyment. For example, if you played Forza Horizon offline, the NPC cars you are racing with are recorded from other players who played the game. The system is called a player modeling system, and it simply records players' behavior during the race and then applies it to an NPC car. So, when a player races offline, the NPC would have a similar real player behavior during the race, which is, in my opinion, great. It enhances the enjoyment level and the experience as well. In addition, NPCs on Zelda sometimes add in fire to their weapon or pick up a rock and avoiding a bomb during the fight. As you can see, there are two different understandings of AI in video games. One wants to create a virtual super player to play multiple games, while the other wants to create an AI system for the real human player's experience. Both need to ask why players play a video game, because it seems that they are neglecting the player interest to achieve their goals. From a player perspective, I play video game to enjoy the game's art, soundtrack, and storytelling. Some would play to pass the time, others to finish it. And there are those who play it to try random things such as firing at the sky and see something unexpected happen in the game. The question is it enjoyable to try random things in the game? The answer is yes. Random behavior is what all players have done or do when they play video games. GTA and Red Dead Redemption are great examples. Unexpected behavior might be annoying to the developer or game designer, as sometimes players may come across a glitch and use it as an advantage to advance in the game. Asmongold is a Twitch streamer. One day came across a glitch in the game that leads to a secret place, and suddenly he and his group members were kicked out from the place intentionally by the game master. Despite the sad ending, such an experience was met with a positive reaction from the players' community. Some called it an epic situation. Random behavior is what I believe is common behavior from all the players, and that is why games such as No Man's Sky, GTA, and Red Dead Redemption are thriving, along with other open world games in other genres. Players love to have the opportunity to try something new in the game environment. So imagine you take that from them by integrating an AI system that analyzing the player's behavior and restricting it. The game's lifetime would be much shorter, let alone that the fun aspect would disappear to some extent. If AI in video games is inevitable, then I would suggest that both the industry and the academic field think about what the player needs, because video games have no value without the player. So, in the end, I hope I added something to your knowledge, and I would love to read your comments on this matter. Are you with or against integrating AI in video games? Until the next time, be safe.